As I said earlier, I am Cynthia Long, and it is a privilege to serve as a commissioner. What we're going to talk through today is what I call County Government 101. I love teaching people about local government, and I get the privilege every once in a while to get into high schools, and I teach a class there because, we don't teach civics in high schools anymore. And so it's a lot of fun. I try to make it fun for them. We set up local government, and they get to vote and set budgets and stuff, and that's a really fun time. We don't quite have time to do that today, so I'm just going to go through some of the basics. The videos talked a little bit about that, but we'll go a little bit further and then get kind of specifically to Williamson County. So our population in 2000 was around 250,000. We're getting close to 3 times that today. And for those of you who've lived here a while, you see the growth and know that firsthand. We're 1,100, a little over 1,100 square miles, 16 school districts, 17 cities. You all represent, I heard Leander, I didn't hear anybody from Cedar Park, but ETJ. Those are our 4 biggest cities, Round Rock, Cedar Park, Georgetown, and Leander. And then we're the 12th biggest county in the state. The core functions of county government, and there's core functions and then what I call discretionary functions. Core functions, law enforcement. We've got the sheriff and the constables. And every county has 1 sheriff. Every county can have more than 4 constables. They have at least 4. Most of in counties about our size or smaller, you're going to have 1 commissioner, 1 JP, justice of the peace, and 1 constable. As counties get much bigger, you can add more justice of the peace, you can add more constables, but you can never have more than 1 commissioner. So, okay, and this is interactive. So in the video, he talked about that every county, whether it's the biggest or the smallest, has 4 commissioners. Okay, anybody guess what the smallest county in Texas is? Actually, there's a smaller one.
Really?
Smallest county is Loving County. I think it's a population about 150. Okay, what about the biggest county? Who's got the biggest county? Okay, Harris County. There you go. You get the wonderful Cynthia Long pencil. Okay, so, I think I went way too, sorry, I was handing my, okay, sorry, my hand was holding the clicker down. So judicial functions, we have 3 levels of courts in the county. We've got district courts. Those courts handle felony type matters and some civil matters. Then we've got county courts at law, which is sort of the next level. Those courts handle family matters as well. They do mental health dockets. They do civil. They do the probate, things like that in the county courts at law. Then you've got your justice of the peace, of which we have 4, and they will handle matters under a certain dollar amount, traffic citations, juvenile delinquency, those kind of evictions, those sorts of things. So and there are some things that the district court and the county courts, they can switch back and forth, but some they can't. They have to be in those courts of jurisdiction. Then another core function is the budget and the tax rate. That's the job of the Commissioner's Court to set. We collect taxes. Our tax assessor, Larry Gaddis, collects taxes for all of the political subdivisions in the county, whether it's a MUD, like Blockhouse Creek MUD, or an ESD, any of those property taxes, as well as for the county school districts and the cities. Emergency management. We have kind of a step above that. We've got emergency services in Williamson County, and I think, Connie, they're going to spend some time there. But that's got several components. Emergency management is one piece of that. We also do EMS. We have a fire marshal, and then the 911 call taking for the county. Elections, you heard about that. We run those, and most of the cities and smaller subdivisions contract with the county to do that for them. That's not mandatory. That's a thing that they just contract to do. I mean, if you wanted to go back and Blockhouse and do it by hand, you could, but most people elect to have the county do that. Then we have veteran services, and I heard it. I see a hat, and I heard a veteran. Any other veterans in here? Thank you for your service. I appreciate it. If you haven't engaged with our Veteran Service Office, we have great services there that you may not know you're eligible for. So please feel free to reach out to that office. We also are in charge of the infrastructure, meaning the roads and the bridges for the county. And we have lots of those, over 1,300 miles of those, but we have some of those that are kind of urban, like in subdivisions, like a mud district, and then we have a lot that are just county roads that are your kind of typical county road. We also have a department that is required to review subdivision plats as they come in. Marie wants to develop her 200 acres and it's out in the county. She would come to the county to do that, to subdivide that, and it has to follow our subdivision rules and those things. Mentioned in the video, the county is also responsible by statute, or actually by constitution, to provide indigent health care to the indigent in the county. And counties are required to spend up to 8% of their general budget for that, if they meet certain criteria. Discretionary functions, and I don't want to say EMS is a discretionary function, but it's not mandated for us to do. But back in the 70s, we had like white vans listening to the radio, chasing wrecks, trying to haul people to different places, and it was a bit chaotic. So the cities and the county got together then and said, county, why don't you run the EMS system? And the city's agreement in that was that they would provide space in their fire stations for an ambulance. And that's worked out really well. And most of our firefighters throughout the county, they're all trained in at least basic life support. Some are trained in advanced life support. And so they generally are the ones that are going to get to a medical emergency first. Sometimes it's at the same time as our ambulances, but that is a relationship that works really well to provide great service for our citizens. We also, as the county, we run the emergency radio system for the county. Everybody that has a rate that's over, I think it's close to 4,000 radios in the county. And that includes county sheriffs, EMS, police, all the police departments in the county use this system, as well as a lot of school districts, some of their buses and things like that. We also provide mental health and wellness for the uninsured through partnerships with Bluebonnet Trails. And then we have a conservation foundation that allows the county to comply with the Endangered Species Act, which has lots of regulations in how you can build roads and do development. And so we set up this conservation foundation and have what's called a habitat conservation plan that allows us to comply with the Endangered Species Act. Oh, you had a question?
Yeah, you had a note on there. It says that serves the county except for Georgetown.
Oh, yeah, sorry. The EMS, up until about 8 years ago, served the entire county. And then Georgetown opted to start their own EMS system and so pulled out of the county system, so they do their own. So it's a little bit of the ESD as well. So it's almost all the county except for Georgetown.
Sorry, can I ask? Since you opened it up for questions. Is the fire also county? Or is
No, fire is either run by the city or an emergency services district. I think you mentioned you're on an ESD board. ESD stands for Emergency Services District. That is an entity that the legislature enabled people in an area that are not served by a fire department from a city can elect to become an ESD. And once they elect to become an ESD, the Commissioner's Court appoints the board members for that ESD, and then they can collect property taxes to help fund fire service for that area. They're capped at 10 cents on the property taxes. Some have elected to also collect sales tax in the area, but that's how fire service is funded in unincorporated areas. Now, there's some mud districts that have contracts with a adjoining city to provide their fire service. Yes, ma'am.
How do volunteer fire departments fit in there?
How do volunteer fire departments?
How do volunteer fire departments fit in that?
So we have fewer and fewer volunteer fire departments anymore. Most of them affiliate either with an ESD or a adjoining city. But the ESDs have really become the tool by which fire service, and some ESDs use volunteers as well. Any other on this one? Okay. So who kind of makes the county run? And we have 31 different elected officials in the county. We have a county judge, and you may have seen the news. Our Judge Gravel resigned to take a job with the Small Business Administration a few weeks ago. And last week we selected and appointed, or he hadn't been sworn in yet, but we selected a new county judge. His name is Steve Snell, and he is currently, soon to be resigning as the superintendent of Liberty Hill Independent School District. And he's super excited to start. Hopefully during the course of these 8 weeks, you'll get a chance to meet him. And so he will be our new county judge. But there's 4 commissioners. Again, I said I represent Precinct 2. Terry Cook represents Precinct 1. Valerie Covey, everybody says Covey if they don't know it, but it's Covey, represents Precinct 3. And then Russ Bowles represents Precinct 4. We have 6 district judges. We have 5 county court at law judges. And as I said, the sheriff, district attorney, and county attorney. Some counties have that function combined. They have a criminal district attorney that combines both of those offices. In Williamson County, it's separate. We have 11 different department heads that help run the functions that the elected officials don't run. We have 5 appointed officials, over 1,900 employees. And then also the tax assessor, treasurer, county clerk supports the district clerk, the county courts at law, and then the district clerk supports the district judges. The county clerk is also responsible for taking minutes for the commissioner's court. So if you ever come to commissioner's court, the person in the far back works for the county clerk's office, and they're the ones that are helping record and take minutes for our meetings. Then again, you have the justice of the peace and constables. Sources of revenue, almost 80%. Oh, I'm sorry, questions?
As the population grows, do the boundaries of the precincts change, and if so, how often?
So, great question. The question was, do the precinct boundaries change? Yes. Every 10 years, just like they do with congressional seats and House seats, the county is required to redistrict as well. So those lines, there's a number of different rules that we have to follow in that redistricting. But first is you kind of balance it out by population. So we did that in 2020 and moved the lines around. Then you also lots of federal voting guidelines that have to be followed in terms of voting blocks, and we have to be careful how we draw lines based upon congressional seats and State Board of Education seats. So we're the last ones. So if you wonder why our lines look so weird, largely we have to fit the pieces in after everybody else has done their stuff, and ours have to align with that. So yes, ma'am. Another question?
Yeah, I was just wondering, are the county judge and the commissioner, is that a paid position or volunteer?
Yes, all of the positions here are paid positions, and they're set. The salaries are set annually. And I mentioned I'd been on a city council. Most city councils are volunteer jobs, but mine's a 50-hour-a-week plus job because commissioners are a lot more hands-on than most city councils have the time to do. But yeah, it's definitely a full-time job. So 80% of the county's revenue comes from property taxes. And if you look at, if I had this, I should do this, I'll add it next year, but the same pie chart for a city, they're probably closer to 50-50 between sales tax and property tax. The county does not collect a sales tax. Currently under state law, we're prohibited from collecting a sales tax. Goofy little state law in the transportation code, if you have bus system operating in your county, you can't collect a sales tax. And there's Leander and we have part of Austin in the county that Cap Metro services, so we're prohibited from collecting a sales tax in the county. But the rest of it is just different fines and fees and some grants and things like that. Kind of the allocation by number of employees, so of those almost 1,900 employees, 57% is public safety. And another 15% of that is judicial. So the lion's share of your tax dollars go towards protecting the public. And when we say public safety, that's the sheriffs, the constables, EMS, emergency management and emergency services, and of course the judicial system. So our adopted budget for 2025 was just over $600 million. And that goes to fund all those different services that I talked about that the county provides. Our county tax rate history, it's gone down over the years. I'm sorry, this is I don't have last year's in it. Last year's tax rate went up a little bit. We had a unique opportunity last year to buy a building that TxDOT had basically, they'd been in it about 20 years. TxDOT decided they didn't need it anymore. And we were sort of bursting at the seams on the west side of the county. And we had the opportunity to buy that building. So the tax rate's going to go down this year, but we used that to buy that building. And at probably a quarter of the cost it would have taken to buy or to build things. So we felt like it was a good investment for the taxpayers to do that. And
Did it go down because of the expansion of people?
so the tax rate has gone down partly because as valuations have gone up, there's more revenue coming in at a lower tax rate, so we've been able to lower the tax rate continually over the years. And I mentioned, I'll go back a little bit on the tax rate. On the slide where I talked about we had indigent health care, we are required to provide that. Some counties, like Travis County, for example, they have a hospital district. So that hospital district is a separate tax from the regular county tax. And so to kind of compare it to ours, like if you were trying to compare Williamson County's tax rate with Travis's, you'd kind of have to combine those two to kind of get a comparison. But so on your tax bill, roughly half of your tax bill is going to be this, or 50 to 60% is going to be the school district. And if you live in a city, probably about 18 to 20% of your property tax bill is going to be the city, and about 18 to 20% is going to be the county. And then if you live in a water control district, you're going to have a little small tax there, or if you live in Austin Community College District, you're going to have a little bit there. But I show that to say that people get their tax bill, and you kind of need to really look at the details to know who all those taxing authorities are. But the county roughly is about 20% of your tax bill. Williamson County has had a very active transportation program. Over the years, the voters have approved bonds to improve the roadways through the county. And that's been voter approved with well over 60% each time. We're unique in Williamson County in that we have our major roadways are state roads. If you hear me say TxDOT, that's our Texas Department of Transportation. But a majority of our roads are state roads. And so the state takes care of those, but it's up to the cities and the counties to take care of the rest of the roads. And in these bond programs, we have partnered heavily with cities. All the major cities go together, and so we're able to build more roads. Our goal is to not get to the point where we're stuck in traffic, but to try to stay a little bit ahead of it. I think the voters have continued to say, yes, we want you to do that because we don't want to be stuck in traffic either. So that's kind of the voter-approved history there.
How does that get allocated by precinct? So it just shows up for me like Cedar Park is really doing something right?
So great question. The question was, how does that get allocated? So when the Commissioner's Court has proposed or a bond program, we put together a committee, a bond committee, and it's 2 people from each precinct, and then the judge has appointed a chair of that committee. And they go through, they have public meetings throughout the communities to gather input, and from both local elected officials as well as any citizen can come and say, hey, this is a problem, think about that. And so that group has then put together kind of a master list from countywide. And then the Commissioner's Court, we've had to whittle that down because it's a big list. We think right now if we were to, and I'll show you a picture of our let me go back. So this is our overall county if we were to build out all the projects on our master transportation plan, it would be about $4 billion if we did it today. And that doesn't include the purchase of right-of-way. So we're kind of just doing it in chunks. But it gets allocated, and then we have a team of people that work specifically on those projects to get them implemented quickly. So here's kind of the results of that program since 2000. Almost 300 completed projects, almost 500 rather, new lane miles. So that means it might have been a 2-lane county road, it got expanded to a 4-lane county road. So that's 2 extra lane miles on that side. For a total of over 1,000 miles that we've worked on, either with new capacity, and a lot of these are taking those old county roads and turning them into 4-lane roads. Some of them are new roads. Then parks. Our bond programs have also included park acquisition and development. And we have a fantastic park system. Who's heard of Brushy Creek Regional Trail? So it is a phenomenal trail that has been a great partnership. It started out in Cedar Park, right where the Twin Lakes YMCA is, and started working its way eastward. But in that process, the county has partnered with the city of Cedar Park, with the city of Austin, with several mud districts along the way, and also the city of Round Rock, and then more mud districts. So it's a really great opportunity to get out, and it's an award-winning trail. We also have Southwest Regional Park, which was really the first park in the county park system, first big park. There's also preserve land there. I mentioned our habitat conservation plan. That also requires that we set aside land to protect certain caves and I call them blind spiders that are in there. But we have to set aside those, and there's one there, and we also have several other preserves. We have Champion Park that's along that Brushy Creek Regional Trail. The Berry Springs Park, which is a lovely park here in the Georgetown area. And then our newest park, it's opened this summer, it'll be 2 years ago, opened in right in between Leander and Liberty Hill off Baghdad. It's called River Ranch Park. That's 1,350 acres. It's got amazing trails. There's equestrian trails, there's RV camping, there's primitive camping, there's some pavilions. But I strongly encourage you, if you've not been out there, to go and enjoy that park. It is a phenomenal place. You know, the goal of the county park system, when we put together our first master plan about 15 years ago, we worked with the cities and the mud districts and said, okay, let's figure out who is in what lane. And so the cities and the MUDs chose to focus on smaller parks that are more active parks, where you have your ball fields and things like that. And the county's focus is on bigger, more passive parks, because we don't have any state parks in our county. So that was the idea behind River Ranch and parts of the Southwest Regional Park, is to have that open space where you can be on a trail and not see anybody else. And just really enjoy that opportunity. One of the other things, yes, ma'am. Oh, yes, the splash pad is at the Williamson County Regional Park. And it was really cool. It was built in a quarry. And so we tried to get some of the rock features, and a little shout out to Connie, because I think her son and my daughter were little at the time, and we had a focus group of kids, and I think Commissioner Covey's son came too, and they're all really little, but they came and it was really fun, because they're telling these landscape architects what fun they want to have there. And it was a great opportunity for the kids to say, unfortunately we had to disable or not install one, because they wanted a water cannon on the bridge to be able to, thought, nah, that might get a little carried away. So it sounded like fun, but that one we had to hold back on. But it's a phenomenal place to take kids and grandkids. This is kind of the results of that park program. We have over 4,800 acres of parkland and preserve land in the county now. Twin Lakes Park anybody familiar with Twin Lakes Park? It's a relatively small one. It's in Cedar Park, and it has been a unique opportunity because the state years ago, almost 30 years ago now, had 50 acres of land that they obviously weren't going to use as a park. They partnered with the county then, and the county had no parks department at the time. So the county turned around and partnered with the YMCA. And so the YMCA has really done a phenomenal job of developing that park for the county. We've done a little bit, but it's run and managed by the YMCA. It's still open to the public, but they run, if you ever go by there in the summer, on any given day, there's probably 600 or 700 kids out there for day camp, and those kids are having a blast. My niece 2 years ago was an intern there, and she's like, "This is so much fun." But those, if you need summer care for your kids, book it now because it books fast. But I mentioned Southwest Regional Champion. Berry Springs has some beautiful trails as well, some pecan trees. It's really a gem on the eastern side of the county. I mentioned River Ranch, and then Twin Springs and Hidden Springs are two areas that are for our habitat conservation plan. Hidden Springs has areas that we are able to mitigate for the golden cheek warbler, and then Twin Springs has some places where we have some of our endangered or threatened salamanders and also some bugs and birds. So that one's a trifecta because we get 3 of them for that one. As I mentioned, we got 52 miles of trail. We also have an expo center in Taylor. Anybody been there? All right, we have a few. Okay, put on your calendar the last weekend in October. No, it's Wednesday through Saturday, right? The Williamson County Expo and Fair, Rodeo and Fair. It's coming up. Put it on your calendars. I didn't see anybody get their pen out. Come on, put it on your calendars. It will be a great opportunity. It's a smaller rodeo, so if you go to the Travis County Rodeo, it's a little bit smaller. It's a lot of fun. Get there early so you can see the mutton busting. That's absolutely my favorite part. The kids stay on that little sheep anywhere from a half a second to 1 minute. I saw a ringer one year, but it's a lot of fun. Very, very family friendly. So I encourage you to put that on your calendar and go enjoy that. As I mentioned, this is our current program that we're working on with projects, and I know you can't see that. We can leave this presentation for you, but this is also on our website. You go to Williamson County's website and look for road bonds, and you can find all you want and more on the different projects that are going on right now. And yes, ma'am.
Since you have the map up there, will you go over the commissioners that are assigned to the areas again?
Sure. The green on the right, geographically, it's half the county. That's Precinct 4, that's Commissioner Bowles. The red, pinkish area, that's Precinct 3, Commissioner Covey. I'm the gold color on the west side, Precinct 2. And then the southern part, that's that blue that looks a little bit like a dog. I guess it looks like a little dog looking backwards. But that's Precinct 1.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And this is sort of the details of some of the road projects that have been constructed recently and that we're working on. And then that is it. Did anybody miss a question when I was going through that? Yes, ma'am.
So you kind of broke down where property taxes go, but I was curious, for state funding, since we don't have an income tax, does part of that comes into the county go to the state?
So
Districts or whatever?
the question was, does any of the money that, like the property taxes, come in and go back to the state? No. All those property taxes are used locally. Now the school districts, that's a different story. Actually, when you get a chance to meet our new county judge, ask him, because school district funding is a whole nother world. There are multiple of our school districts, though, that are in what they call recapture. So some of your local property taxes are going back to the state to get distributed to other school districts across the state. I think Round Rock, Leander, and Liberty Hill just went in. So they're having to cut budgets because the state's taking their money. Yes, sir.
The ability to purchase the textile building?
Yes.
I know they will have to do conversions and whatnot to fit with the needs of the county. Do you have any idea what will be going into that?
We have some initial plans of where we might, what we might use. We wanted to be able to, not just for Williamson County, but also for the region, have a backup location for our 911 call taking. And so that will, primarily that will serve as a training area for our call takers and our dispatchers, but it'll also serve as a backup location for that. We've got a number of, one of the things, and I think you're going to talk about justice system, so I won't take too much of their presentation, but we are getting to the point that we will be out of space in our current justice center over here, as well as the sheriff's department. They're kind of sitting on top of each other, and used to be a broom closet, now it's an office. And so we are looking at what the future of our justice system looks, and if we need to move or grow or what that looks like. But in the meantime, we may use some of that new space for some of our detectives and crime lab, things like that. So there's kind of some interim uses and then some long-term uses as well. And then I think there was, yes, ma'am.
Yes. All 4 precincts have to vote on all issues for arts, parks, and roads. Is that
Yes, yes.
So since precincts 1, 2, and 3 have the largest population, don't they have a tendency to overpower the wishes of those in mainly East Williamson County rural?
Well, the populations are distributed equally amongst the precincts. So that was part of what we had to do in redistricting back in 2020, after we redistricted, the populations were roughly equal in every single precinct.
That's in every single precinct.
Yes, ma'am.
But with 2, 3, and 1, 2, and 3 being most heavily populated, that's where I'm saying maybe the more urban areas.
You mean with more cities? I'm not sure I'm understanding your question, because the populations for each precinct are the same.
Precinct
Yeah,
is divided equally for population.
right.
That's why precinct 4 is so large. But if 2, 1, 2, and 3 are collectively voting in one way, they might not fully understand the concerns of those who are in the rural eastern portion
Yeah.
of the county.
Yeah, I mean, that could be the case. We make sure, I've always tried to make sure that both our bond elections as it relates to transportation as well as parks has something for the whole county, because everybody's, and also, quite frankly, people for the cities, because you pay, if you live in a city, you pay county taxes as well. So we try to make sure that those are equally distributed so that it's not just favoring one precinct or the other. Any other questions? Okay, I do have another question, and the grand prize is your pocket constitution. Does everybody have one? Who doesn't have a pocket constitution? Okay, so what school district is our newest county judge? What school district is he coming from? Oh man, I had about 4 people, but only one person raised their hand, so sorry. There you go. Thank y'all very much for participating in this. I hope your next hour and then 7 weeks beyond that will be really educational. I didn't bring my cards with me, but my information is on the county website. If you think of something, have any questions, please feel free to reach out. But thank y'all for doing this, because I know there's a lot of other things you could spend 2 hours a week doing. And so thank you for taking the time to do this. We really appreciate it. And enjoy the rest of your Commissioner's Court and County Historic Courthouse Day. So thank you.